Hello, welcome to Moxie Journal. My name is Calyx and I use she, her pronouns. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. What I thought I would do is come on camera and do a tarot Techo Kaigi. Now, if you haven't heard the phrase Techo Kaigi before, it comes from the planner community. It's a Japanese phrase and it means a planner or journal review. In fact, Kaigi means meeting. So the idea is you have a meeting with your books, with your journals, with your diaries, with your planners, whatever you're using. And you look at it through the lens of what has been working, what needs to change, what hasn't worked, why hasn't it worked, what can I do differently, what do I want to do differently? So I thought I would step through my process and tell you a little bit about what I'm keeping the same, what parts of my practice are changing in terms of my tarot practice, and then therefore my journaling about tarot practice, and what I wanted to do with it. I love these kind of videos when I watch other people, so I hope to have something to add to the conversation. I also have a new oracle deck that I haven't seen a lot, actually ever, on YouTube. I haven't searched for it either, but just in looking around, I haven't seen it. And I just got it this afternoon. I thought maybe I'd show a few cards there at the end. I'm going to put timestamps so you can kind of check in and look at the pieces that you're interested in. And if that sounds good to you, stick around. And if it doesn't sound good to you, then thank you for being here at all. And I hope to see you in a future video. All right, so if you're still with me, let's go ahead and get into the books. Now, I know this kind of looks like a really big lineup, and you've seen some of them before if you've been on my channel. And if you have, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't, I'll talk about them as I go along, and I'll reference a video that I've made before if you want to see further detail about it. All right, so let's just maybe start over here on the left. This is a happy planner, and oh, it's very reflective. So sorry for all the glare. I don't really know how to hold that better. It has discs on the side, this sort of laminated plastic cover. This one's from 2022. As a planner system, this didn't work for me at all. There were just so many reasons. One of them being the sensory issues. I do have some sensory issues, and these metal discs clanging on my desk did not work for me. But I've gotten a new neoprene mat that I think maybe is going to be better there. I also didn't really like the way it turned, but I've kind of worked through a little bit of that. And I've been much inspired by some creators like Sylvie at Tarot Magpie and Lennox Reese, who is a deck creator and content creator, who also uses a happy planner, a couple other people I've seen recently. And I thought, oh, I have one of those. I could get that out. I didn't use it for tarot in 2022 because I wasn't really working with tarot in that way. So I thought this would be perfect. I got it out and I decided that this year I'm really going to focus on doing some more tarot studying. I have plenty of bound notebooks and spirals that I have used for studying tarot. I've actually studied tarot a lot longer than I've actually read tarot. The academic perspective is much more my comfort zone. Actually, the action is less comfortable, but I've gotten very much into it in the last 2 years. So the great thing about this system is that it's everything I love about having something bound. Spiral, I use spirals a lot, but it's adjustable, it's modular. You can pull papers out, you can move them around, you can stick them back in. And actually, from a sensory perspective, I always did like that feel and the sound of ripping them out. It was just the clangety-bangety of the discs I didn't like. So it's expandable, and what I'm going to do is use this for things like studying a particular card. Like if I have a strength card, I don't have to, in a bound book, I would have to kind of hold enough pages. Here, I can just write the notes I currently have, and as I gather further research, I can just put it in the right place, or I can move it around if I'm studying something else for a while and bring it back. And so that is what this book is. Again, it's Happy Planner. This one was a notebook style, and so that is again an old planner that I'm using, a new tarot tool accessory. The other pieces that I have, let's see, these are all bound, and this one, this, if you've been on my channel before, you've seen this guy. This is my tarot journal from last year. This is my Ritual Planner. The company is Ritual Planner with a W. They don't come all stickerized. This is all me. One of my love languages is stickers. And I loved this. It was fantastic. It worked perfectly for me, especially for my first year, actually second year really, reading tarot and writing down and sort of tracking it and thinking about it. I did last year get the one card, oops, that's the monthly. I got the one card a day version. There is a 3 card a day. Currently, these are sold out in the dated format. They do have a current undated format, and I think that they will probably reprint, and maybe I will get one of those later in the season. But as you can see, I have plenty of blank pages from August on. This is a very big book. It's a US letter size, full year, and she's huge. And I did actually carry this book with me last year pretty much everywhere I went until August. And I went a lot of places. I went to 3 new countries I'd never been to before. I went to Las Vegas. I went to Washington, D.C. I went to my hometown several times. And I took this book the whole time. But towards in the middle of the summer and in the fall, I stopped being able to carry this. I ended up going to 2 more countries. I went to Ireland and Italy. I'd been to Italy before. I had never been to Ireland. And then I was back home. I actually was moving my mother in with me. So I was back in my hometown, which is about 500 miles away from where I currently live, helping her pack up, getting things. I had my kids come home, help their grandmother move in. It was just a lot, and I just couldn't carry this great big book with me anymore. As much as I love it, as much as this is my favorite format. But I don't want to not use this. And if you've seen me journal before, and I'll try and remember to link my journal with me. I think I had a good one in June where I showed my process. But if you've seen me journal before, you know that one of my favorite things to use, my favorite journal tool is whiteout. I like structured pages, but then I like to change them around. So I am just not above kind of using it as an eraser to give myself new places. So I can totally just white this out or use new date stickers and continue to use this journal. You can see I've kind of given myself some ideas about what to do and going forward in January with this. And maybe I'll do a journal with me filming this. If you're interested in that, let me know. But if I go through this, I've got through, I think I marked it out. I think I have enough pages to get myself all the way through May. So it seems silly to me to throw this away if it would still be useful. That said, I'm not actually going to use it as my main tarot journal this year. Last year, I really worked on building a practice, and this year I'm deepening practice and sort of expanding it in some different ways. And so this structure is great for my card a day, for some notes. I do like that, but there's just not really as much room, even though it's really big, there's not really room or structure for me to do sort of longer form daily journaling as much as I would like to. And also, as I mentioned, she's very big and hard to carry around. And one of the pieces I realized about my upcoming year is that I have a lot of travel planned, at least for the first 6 months. And I don't want to get myself in the same situation I found myself last summer. I'm so excited to get to travel. I've been trying to manifest this travel for years. I was a stay-home mom for a long time. I have 5 children. And then even when they got bigger and I went back to work, I was still the glue. I was still the hinge. I was still doing all of those pieces in a big, complicated family. So this is really the first time in my life I've gotten to really travel and explore the world, and I'm living it. And I want to journal, and I also do, in fact, want to keep my tarot practice going. So travel, tarot on the go is part of how I want to look at things. So this journal I'm going to keep using. I think I will use it more for memory keeping. I did a little bit of starting just to kind of play with, like my partner and I went to Ocean City, Maryland. We were celebrating our 21st anniversary together. And so I just kind of started playing. I pull oracle cards. I still write. I'm still putting things in. So I think it's going to work really great for this, but I'm not going to put I'm not going to put pressure on myself to take this with me when I travel. It's going to be my at-home desk. I don't mind backfilling it a little bit. And then, you know what? If that still doesn't work, and I just don't fill out any more of these pages, then I have given it a thorough try, and I certainly have gotten my money's worth out of this journal. I absolutely love it. So I will say I do prefer the soft cover. I won't buy the hardcover, or if I do buy the hardcover, I'll probably pull it off and put my own soft cover on, just because I like this one, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I have heard really good things about the new version. All right, so that is my ritual planner, what worked and what didn't last year. All right, what else do I have? Oh, well, this is my welcome aboard or intake interview journal that I use when I get new decks. And again, if you've been with me, you've seen this. I talk about it all the time. It's one of my really favorite parts of my practice. I love having this record of what my first impressions were, how the deck was, how I started off working with it. And this is this little notebook. It's an A5 notebook. It's by Wonderland. It's Wonderland 222 is the name of the company. And this was actually a 2022 just notebook. It's plain. There's almost no structure to the pages. It's just got 1 through 24 on this side. It's got a little bit of a grid, but the minute you start writing, that kind of goes away. It's divided a little bit at the top, but there's no other directive here. And it just has, it has like 189 pages. I also got several of these on sale last year. These are the original Tomoe River paper. And if you are not in the planner community, or if you haven't heard about Tomoe River paper, it is very thin paper. Companies like Hobonichi, which is a Japanese stationery store, Wonderland 222, I think there are some others, maybe just Scribbles. They use this really thin paper. It's beautiful for fountain pens. I use Energel pens because I've already told you I'm a major collector. I do have like 2 fountain pens from like 20 years ago, but I'm really resisting the urge to play with all those beautiful, pretty inks and get into that. I don't need another thing to collect. Anyway, this paper, I absolutely love it. I love the thinness. I love the crinkly. I'm very much a tactile texture person. Sensory stuff, this totally appeals to me. But one thing, if you haven't used it and you're thinking about it, just do know it's known for ghosting. Certain pens, it's good to test to see if they actually bleed through. You may have seen, even in my big book, I have that one place where it bled through. That was a big old Sharpie, so I knew better, but I didn't worry about the other side of the page. This is called ghosting, when you can see it just a little bit, and some people really hate that. They feel like they never have a clean page to start with. I actually love it. For me, it makes this page a little bit more accessible. I actually have a hard time when it's completely blank. My brain just goes blank, even though I have been journaling for 50 years now, something like that. I still have that blank page paralysis sometimes. So having just a little bit of ghosting, having something on the other side really helps me. And so for me, it's a feature, not a bug. All right, so this is my welcome aboard journal. It's going to stay in practice exactly as is, but this is something I do at home. I don't really take this traveling with me, right? All right, so that one is staying the same. This little guy is by Hobonichi. This is a sort of wallet-sized, thin vertical. It's a little bit like the bank planners, the free little calendars they used to give you at the bank. I'm showing my age, although of course this one has a beautiful artistic cover. It is a hardcover, and they come out with different ones of these. You can get them plain. You can also get them called Mega, where they have more spaces in the back. It has calendar information. It has sort of monthly views. Then it goes to a weekly, sort of horizontal weekly on this side, and has a blank note page on this side. I did not use it as a planner. I didn't use it for tarot. I really used it as last year for, well, I was counting my steps for a while. You can see that only lasted like through April because my phone does that. I love words, so I just was writing down words that I loved every day. And that got me through mid-March. And then it was blank. In terms of the weekly, I've been wanting to get a little better at doodling, making little icons for myself. So I started practicing that. I do love doing blind contour drawings as a sort of creative practice to open my brain. And that really worked for a while. I had this in my bag. I carried it around. I did things like that. But you can see it also fell off. And one of the things about this book is that, and this, I'm almost embarrassed to say on camera about why this is such a big deal. And I don't know, you might not even be able to tell on camera. Let me show you. But this book, The Weeks, is a sort of creamy, off-white, sort of yellowy color. Whereas the other Hobonichi book that I have been used to working with, this one is a Hobonichi Cousin. This paper is white, and as I said, one of my favorite tools, one of the things I use a lot is whiteout. And if I use my whiteout on this sort of yellow paper, it looks atrocious. It looks terrible. So I had to go buy some off-white, off-white out. I don't really know what they call this. Corrector tape, I guess. This is a lot bigger. It's a lot harder for me to carry around. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that part just became a friction point. Again, sensory stuff. I do have a little bit of synesthesia. So sometimes certain colors or certain textures get crossed over. Some things make me queasy. Some sounds can make me really queasy because they make me taste things. I don't know. I have a very interesting brain. I am what my friends tell me is neurosparkly. My sweet kiddos gave me that pen. Anyway, so I do love this journal. I love this form factor. I love this hardback cover, and I think I'm going to carry it around. I'm going to keep collecting words. I'm going to get back into my doodling practice. One of the things for me that is actually most helpful about this little book is that when I carry it, when I get to the end of writing in my A5, kind of at the end, rather than have my wrist pull at an angle, I use this as a leveler so I can keep writing evenly on the page, and it works perfectly for that. It's very small, it tucks in pretty well, it travels nicely, so I'm going to keep this in my practice, and it's really more of an assist. It's not specifically tarot, but it's going to go along with my tarot journals, so there you go. And then my last, the big kahuna, my main tarot journal is a Hobonichi Cousin. So this is a cover. So the Hobonichi, if you haven't used a Hobonichi before, I'll give you a little bit of a tour of how it's set up. If you've used one before, I'll try and remember to skip to where I actually talk about how I'm going to use it. So I will go through and talk about how it's just Hobonichi Cousin in general is set up, and then I'll tell you how I'm using in my specific practice. So this is the book. This is the Techo. This is the book. I get the Hobonichi Cousin. This is an A5 size. They do have a Hobonichi Han, which is this same book, but it has a hardcover. And it has designs a little bit like the Weeks did. They have these really interesting designs, and some of them are very exclusive, that kind of thing. As I said, I don't really like the hardback books. I often have a plastic cover on this. I get the Midori Codex, and I order it from Jet Pens, to put on this book so I can carry it by itself. They were out of them, so that's why I don't have one right now. And the reason I get the Codex is because it's the one that fits. This is wide. It's got monthly, weekly, and daily pages, as well as some in the back. So it gets pretty big, and that's the cover that fits it. Again, it's by Midori. I'll put a link. This cover, you don't have to get a new one of these. You don't actually ever even have to use one of these, but I love this. This is, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 panels in the Tokyo National Museum. It's just gorgeous. It just speaks to me. I absolutely love it. And it's got some pockets here. I carry stickers, as you can probably imagine, knowing this little bit about me. I have some other tools, little cutouts, things like that. It comes with some ribbons so that when your book is tucked in, you can mark your place. It's a great addition. I love it. But here's the book itself. All right, so again, if you haven't used one of these, it comes with this Tomoe River paper. And let's start at the beginning. All right, so at the very beginning, just a place for stickers. This first page, I'll come back, but this is my year ahead spread. Most people, actually a lot of people, maybe not most, but a lot of people actually glue these two pages together because this one's not super useful for most people, but as you can see, I found a use for it. The next page is the current year's calendar, last year, and the next month's, next year for planning purposes. And I did use a highlighter and go through and count about when I'm traveling just for the first 6 months so far. I actually have one trip in here that hasn't been pinned down, but so far I think I have 58 days. I'm not going to be at home in the first 6 months of 2026, which is very exciting for me. And also that's 2 months out of 6. That's a third of my time that I'm not going to be at my home. So part of what I'm looking at this year in terms of sustainable practice is really taking that into consideration and not just pretending like I can just be at my desk and have a practice that's going to work the same. All right, so the next section, I think of it as a calendex, future log or an index page. These are month, each column is a month. So here's 6 months and here's the other 6 months. The little gray and the red are weekends, so you can kind of see, and then they're numbered, so you have 1 day. People use this in lots of different ways. They can use this as a tracker, so some people in the tarot community could use this for tracking their daily draws, maybe putting their stats up at the top. Other people do things like track steps, or they put important birthdays or anniversaries just so they can kind of at a glance see what big things are coming up. I actually use this in a specific way that doesn't have anything directly to do with tarot, but I'll show you in just a second. The next section, I kind of covered, I already did that one. Let me show you a sort of blank one. Actually, I think I have a real blank one. Okay, so the next section is you have 15 month at a glance sort of calendars. And I say 15, it's actually 16 because you have the month before the calendar year, and then you have the 3 months of the next calendar year. So in this case, it's December, and then January to December, and then January, February, and March of 2027. There is, in fact, a April start option with Hobonichi, so I assume that that would be the same thing, just shifted a month. Anyway, so I did use the December one. I just covered it up and pretended like it wasn't a month at a glance. And I won't use January, February, and March for tarot because I'll be into my next one. So when I go back, I'll show you how I'm using these in my tarot practice, and then also for the 3 that will be blank, I'll show you some ideas I'm thinking about it. And I may just leave them blank. I don't have a big, thing about blank pages in my book, but some people really do. All right, so then after you get done with the month at a glance, here we go. Then you have these vertical weeklies. So it's a 1 week laid out, they're dated. Again, the gray and the red are for the weekends. And then it's an hourly format, starts at 5 a.m. and goes all the way, it's a 24-hour clock. If you want to use that, if you write over it, it's fine. Again, I'll come back and show you how I'm using these. But this vertical tall column really didn't suit me. I had to play around in previous years. I've experimented with a bunch of different things, and I kind of hit on a way to use these in my tarot practice that I'm pretty excited about. After the vertical weeklies, and they last for a while, then you get a section. I've already kind of filled this up, but and I glued a page in, but it's a new year. So it's like a blank page where you can talk about the new year. And then it starts with the months. So the monthly, it starts with the daily section and it goes by month. So it has a one page for the overall month, like a dashboard, or you could put a vision board, something like that here for January. And then it's January 1. And then each day has a day. Now, the colors do change by month, so you can kind of quickly see. And these colors don't change. If you don't like them, you probably shouldn't get a Hobonichi, because I haven't seen them change in 4 years. And so you can kind of go all the way down. The daily pages, they do have a little bit of a structure. They kind of start from like 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. here if you want to do timing. Again, I don't use any of that. It's got a little checklist if you wanted to do some task things up at the top. It does have quotations, inspiring quotes at the bottom. I do like having my calendar. I order the Japanese version. You can get it in English. I don't speak Japanese. I don't really know why I like it so much in Japanese. I don't know. I do. The one year I ordered it in English, I realized I don't find these quotations very inspiring, but I also, again, white out. If I need this part of the page, I just white out or I put a sticker over it. Otherwise, I don't know, I like having the words. Again, I like having structure that I can modify much more than a blank page. I love that it's got the moon phases in here. It also tells you, I think somewhere, I think one of these numbers is what, like how many days out of the year, like what the actual date is. And these actually scan really well in Google Translate if you ever want to. All right, so after you get done with the daily pages at the end, you get just some plain graph pages, some just grid pages, and then they have some sections in the back. There's a list of 100 things you can keep track of. There are some of these change every year, right? They're different from year to year. You can scan this. This has some information, I don't know, about flora and fauna. This has a gift registry. This is like an age calculator. I don't actually know why you would want to use that, but it's there. An address log, and then at the end, some personal notes on the back page. So I have mine, I put my information. It's like, if this is lost, please, please, please return it. Over here, every Hobonichi has its own little individual number, which I think is very fun. And at the back, more room for stickers. Yay, stickers. So that is, in general, that's how Hobonichi Cousin is set up. So I want to go through and tell you a little bit about what I do and why and how I'm going to use this as tarot. Now, again, I've been using these since 2022 for long form journaling, for tracking different things I've been tracking. So I've played with this a little bit. In fact, I have one that's not filled up that I use as kind of my sampler when I'm testing things out. And what I decided was that this would be the perfect format for my tarot practice. I do have a picture of myself here. It's a little bit hard. I don't love pictures of myself, and I don't particularly like having my face on camera, except I took a wonderful class with a spiritual teacher. It was actually a self-portrait class, like self-portrait as a spiritual practice. And you don't have to have a photograph, right? You don't have to have a realistic representation of yourself, but she really did teach us to work with images, symbols, colors, things that do represent you, about putting your energy into your book, into your creative practice, into your spiritual practice. And I have found, as much as I'm uncomfortable with it, when I look back, I really appreciate having an idea of where I was then. So I'm learning to make peace with it, especially one of the struggles for me is, right, figuring out how to make peace with the age I am. And anyway, so there we go. So that's me as I am or was, 3 weeks ago. As I already said, the calendar page I've just used to see my travel. And then this Calendex, let me get my old one and show you. Again, you don't have to change covers, but this one still has my sampler book in it. So let me show you. As I said, I use this Calendex not specifically for tarot, but for my sticker subscription. And my stickers really do support my tarot and my journaling practice overall. I get a monthly subscription from a company called Pipsticks. And so Pip Success, the name of the company. And this is each one of their little sticker sheets comes at the bottom. It has like the name of the sticker sheet. And it turns out that it's exactly perfect for each one of these little lines. So when I get my package every month, I just love putting it in my book. I like being able to see what the name of the stickers were. Not that I really read them, but I started this practice thinking, well, I'll just kind of track it a little bit and see if I even want to just end it or stop next year. And so I put these down. I make sure I've got all the ones I'm supposed to have. I use some of the little stickers from it. And then I found I really love going back and seeing what it was like. Anyway, this page makes me happy. So I'm going to do that going forward in the Calendex part of my new book. And then I'll use the stickers in my journaling. So those will be those 2 pages. And then, as I said, this is the month, and this was December. And I used this page. You can't even tell that it was, a calendar with little boxes like this anymore, because I whited out, I outlined, I put sticky, but this is where I used a little creative visualization to kind of decide about my practice. I'd made notes, I was trying to decide what it was going to be, and this is what I decided I was going to start with. So I do love my Oracle decks, and I just drew a card in playing, and it was the Queen of New Hope, and I do feel some new hope about my practice, so that was kind of fun. I have a daily draw practice that I do with a partner in recovery. I am a person living in recovery. I am sober, and that is part of my daily practice, and I've fit tarot into that. It's been wonderful to do a daily draw, do my morning readings, and then reflect, and then have someone that I bounce that off of. I do actually have a gratitude practice that goes along with it. Anyway, so that's going to be part of it. And then I started to tell you that it's one of the shifts this year is I'm going to be traveling. I also realized while I'm not committing to a no buy. I have done that. I did, I think, 4 or 5 months last year that was no buy. I do want it to be a little bit lower buy, a little bit more intentional buy as I add decks to my collection. I really like my collection now, and I want to deepen my practice with my decks. And but I'm still going to collect. However, one of the things I realized about last year is that while I did support deck creators, I didn't actually support content creators. And I love the content creators in YouTube. I love what they do, what they offer for free. And then, I heard lots of people talk about their Patreon offerings, and I made note, and I thought, oh, you know what? That's one thing I want to shift a little bit. Instead of spending my tarot budget just on acquiring cards, maybe I can support some of these content creators and learn a little bit more, try out new practices, try out a different way of thinking about things. So I decided this year to commit to an Animal Gnosis offering program with Tegan from Animals and Arcana. She offers a monthly Patreon about working with animals. Anyway, I'll put links. It looks really interesting. I'm kind of excited about it. And it is an offering where I can engage as much or as little with, which is going to be really helpful because some of these months I'll have more time than others. And I'm very excited about that. Then Sylvie over at Tarot Magpie, they run Tarot Lab, and I love Sylvie's offerings just on YouTube. I think they do an amazing amount of really cool content around practice, around deepening ideas. They have a sort of academic approach and an experimental, a play, a curiosity that just totally speaks to me. And so I had really wanted to do Tarot Lab last year, and I just never did. And so I committed to doing that this year. Again, it's a monthly offering that they have. There are PDFs, there are experiments, there are some extra videos, but it's also experiment or not. If this topic this month speaks to you, use it. If not, it's available. They offer a library with there. So that really spoke to me. And then my last practice that I'm going to add in is a new practice that's just on TerraTube that Erin Linto, who is the Witch of Saturn, and Jay at Iridescent Tarot, collectively they go by Two of Mom's Tarot, and they started this process called Deck Connectors Club. And I love it. It's a YouTube series where I think they did it either 4 or 5 months of this past year, 2025. And they spend 1 week with a deck, and they tell you ahead of time what decks they're going to be doing. And so you can do it along with them, or they invite you to just use their process on a deck that you already have, which is what I'm going to be doing. And they have 5 different days worth of exercises to go through the deck. The first one is that you do a deck interview. The second day you do a spread from a book called The Library of Questions. I love this. If you've been with me, you know I love to ask questions, and this is a great spread book. And then the third and fourth days are you pair your tarot deck that you're working with different oracles and see what that experience is like. And then the 5th day is they're using a Tao meditation book. I don't have that book. I'm not going to add that book to my collection. I have plenty of books, and so what I'm going to do is actually use do a meditation, a little devotional. I have this wonderful book by Molly Reamer that I love, Whole and Holy Goddess Devotional, that I already do some bibliomancy with, and so I thought I would continue that, do a meditation and a draw, and put that in my journal. So I'm very excited about this. This is sort of a weekly practice, but I'm only going to commit to myself to doing 2 weeks a month, right? So instead of 1 week, 1 deck every week, I'm just going to connect with 2 decks a month. I'm really excited about that. And if I don't do it, I don't do it. And on this other side, I just did some, Tegan sent some information, a little message from Python. I thought this was really cute. Had a little meme that said, you changed skins 11 times this year, like animals, like doing the wrapped. Anyway, I do like to have little interactive bits in my journal. So this is like Scotch tape, right? You know, but I think this is really fun. I drew, my card of the day was the Fool card on December 31st, which is just crazy. I don't actually relate to December 31st and January 1st is the new year. For decades, my spiritual practice is about going into the dark before the day. So my new year is actually, October 31st, Samhain, and then starting with the dark part of the year and then moving in to the lighter part. But this year, for whatever reason, I don't know, I'm a little bit more aligned with the Gregorian calendar than I've been in a while. I'm just letting it go. And planners and things do often start at the beginning of January. As I said, though, Hobonichi, if you are a spring start kind of person, Hobonichi has an April start. All right, anyway, so that's December. And then going forward, what I decided was just in this monthly view, I'm just going to note my daily draw. My recovery partner actually has a spreadsheet, so they put that in there too. I made a note of my deck connector, little play on words there, deck connector club activities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I haven't written them down. I've done a few this week. And then I've also made some other notes, like who's going to be home when, and you can see I'm actually not home. I only have 11 days at home this particular month. Anyway, so that's the main section. And then over on the left, the first part is my card that I drew in my year ahead spread. This is the energy for this particular month. So flipping back, here's what my spread looked like. And then here's January, so it's the Magician. So I just made a copy and put it over here. Now I have to say, this is only my second year ahead spread I've ever done. And I don't really work with it in a predictive way. I don't go, oh, this is going to happen. I really think of it more as an interesting lens to kind of reflect and pay attention to, maybe learn some lessons from. And doing my review of last year's of the year ahead spread I did at the end of 2024 for 2025. Some months it was very interesting to see kind of where some of those energies lined up, where I paid attention to it. And other months, I just couldn't figure out how the card that I had pulled had any relation to any lessons or anything. So even with the reversals, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about year ahead spreads, but I'm kind of experimenting. I'm seeing what they work and how I can make it more my own. Anyway, so that's enough of that. Then I'm gonna put some sort of representation of the animal gnosis animal that we're working with for the month. And then below that, I'm gonna put a little picture of the 2 decks for Deck Connector Club I'm working with. And at the bottom, I'll make notes or pictures about what we're doing over in Tarot Lab, Sylvie's practice. And, well, my practice that I'm doing that Sylvie runs. And I think this is going to be a nice little snapshot when I go back, and then I can look up more. Like, I'm probably going to put more of my experiments and writings working with Tarot Lab in my study notebook, because I want to have extra room, or if we revisit a topic, something like that here. And then for my deck connectors, I'm going to show you where I put that. Remember these vertical weeklies? I said I didn't really know what to do with them. Again, the tall columns don't really work, but if you turn the book, this is plenty of room for me. And so what I did is, on the day that I do the exercise, I put the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are the 5 days. And then I write about it. This time I had a little extra room up here at the top, so I did a little backstory of why I got the deck. Here's a picture of this deck. I worked with Remembering the Sweet Fool Tarot. This is by Trisha Murray. And then I named the spread and what was it about when I did the spread, again, from the book. And actually, I didn't have that book with me, so I just did a different spread. And then here are my 2 readings with the oracles. And then at the end, I did some notes on my meditation. And this worked out perfectly for me. Again, not all of these will be used because I'm not planning to do this every single week. But again, I'm kind of okay with blank pages every once in a while. If I want to, I'll just put a bunch of stickers on them because that will make me happy. All right, and then we get into looking at the month. So at the beginning of the daily pages, as I said, they have sort of a new year page. I taped in a page. This is called a tip in, and I taped it in so that it opens out to the side, and then whatever month I'm on, I have my structure for the month ahead spread. This is a new spread for me. I hadn't used it before, and so I wanted to just put it in a way that I could find it. It's a spread by Ann AnnMaddox that she did on a free video called Tarot Deep Dive, How to Understand a Spread, Advice from a Pro Reader. If you want to look at her video, I'll try and remember to link her video there. But it's sort of 6 cards and laid out. I did change it. One of the prompts, I think it was 3, said flaws and weaknesses to address. I don't love the word flaw and weakness for whatever reason. So I don't know. I think about limiters, vulnerability, obstacles, blockages, something like that. So I really just said what to address. I tried to make the language as neutral as possible. Something to address. Anyway, so then I have here's my month ahead spread. Again, I don't really think about it as being predictive, a little bit more psychologically reflective lessons maybe to be learning along the way. And then I also made for myself, because I love checklists, and I just kind of thought as part of my reflective process, I would look back and see how much of this I actually did. So I made a little checkbox for both my ahead spreads and reflections, and then which months I'll give myself a little star check mark that I worked with in some way for Animal Gnosis, and then same with Sylvie's Tarot Lab, and then the Deck Connectors Club. I actually wrote out what the Deck Connectors Club sort of process is, and I made little boxes to see, some months maybe I'll only get 1, not 2, or if I give myself a little circle or star, it means I did extra. And then at the bottom, I just, I have a check mark for my daily recovery draw. And then I found out last year that even though in my tarot journal there was room for full and new moon spreads, And I did a few of them, but mostly I ended up feeling like that was a chore. I have a long established practice. Again, I have been practicing for 40 years or something, and I have my own rituals. I have my own way of honoring the new and the full moon, and I would like a little tarot in there. So I've decided to use my Oracle of the Living spell that I just got by Cedar Moon Witch. I'm going to use that deck for just a 1-card draw for the moons and kind of put that in with my magic. That doesn't seem too hard. This is just the word write-up of my month ahead, and this is just a picture of the back of the cards. All right, so as I said, this is my dashboard for the month, and then this is just the daily stuff. Again, I put pictures of things, of cards I'm drawing or things I'm thinking about, and I just write. And sometimes I write more, sometimes I have more pictures, I have stickers. I do really like to have little interactive pieces. So this was a full moon, so I drew my moon card, and I can put a little spell on the inside of this. There's the actual card. There's the back of the card, and I just made a little pocket out of paper. I think I did the same thing over here with my Isis deck. I don't know, I'm like a little kid at heart. I just love little tabs that flip out. And again, some of these, I'm really excited, right? Because this is all new, but I totally understand that some days I'll have I haven't finished this today. And, some days I don't really have much to say, so maybe I just do drawing or just leave it completely blank. I do have chronic migraines, so some days, I may just put a big M or migraine, and that's it. But if I have a blank page, I can also go back and fill it in and just make a note for myself somewhere about where that's located. So that is what I plan to do with my book. Oh, except there's one more thing. In the back, I told you there's a list of 100 things. So I thought I might get to more than 100. I might not get to 100, but I'm going to write down card decks that I work with in 2026. And by work with, like you can see that I'm 9-10 days into January, and I already have 21 decks. I haven't done full-on spreads, but if I hold cards, if I look at them when I'm going to bed, if I just read through the guidebook, study them, shuffle them, do an interview, like just any kind of working with them, if I just give them some love, then I'm going to put them on my list. These spaces are really small for me, for my handwriting, so I just decided to give them acronyms. And you'd think I'd remember an acronym I make up, but you would be wrong. I wouldn't necessarily. So on one of these pages before, I'm just making a list of what acronym I'm using, what little piece. So I think that's everything about that. That is my Hobonichi Cousin Tarot Journal for 2026. And I'm really excited about this year's practice. I'm really excited for my travel. And this may seem like a big book to you, but it's so much smaller than the other one. And I'm going to take my kit. If you've seen me journal before, you've seen this kit. It's kind of messy. It's got an ink stain. But this is my little kit. It's about the size of an A5. It's a little bit thicker. But this is where I keep my refillable colored gel pens. I have little scissors. I have a little scraper. I use my glue stick. You've seen my whiteout. I use my little lens cloth tape to tape things in. I have a pocket for stickers right here, and then I am always using clamps. And this little guy, it does zip up. I don't always take 3 things of tape with me, but then I take this and I put that in my bag, and I can journal for weeks and weeks and weeks with just this much stuff. So that's all I have about my tarot practice. Oh, it's not. Oh, I totally almost forgot to show you something. So one of the things, last thing, I promise, and then we'll pull a few cards, is that one of the things that, do I have one sitting here? There is a thing called a pencil board that people use in the Hobonichi or with this thin paper. And what it means is it's a sort of flat piece that that people can tuck in here and write smoothly on, or I suspect usually it's on this side where you may have, you know, bumpy stuff going on this side, but you write it and it gives you a flat surface to kind of press against. And I do have an official one, but obviously I can't find it. But I decided to make myself my own one. This is just a little laminated card as part of my trying to deepen my practice and use what I have. I have the Mary Kay Greer book called Tarot for Yourself, but I haven't done all the exercises. And one of the first exercises in the beginning is she talks about building out a tarot profile of yourself. Now, I don't know that I believe in past lives. I don't really know very much about the esoteric information about astrological associations with tarot. I'm not really sure how I feel about sort of the card of the year or year cards. I've actually seen people use two different numerological ways of figuring out what your card is. So then I was like, well, I don't really know. So some of it seems a little constructed, but really all of tarot is kind of a construct, right? We put meaning into it and then we work together, and these are symbols. It's, you know, it's just another type of language. It's a visual, I don't know, psycho-spiritual language. Anyway, so I'm just going to play along for a while. I'm going to put some, you know, brackets up around my, I don't know, I'm an analytical person, but just because I don't believe something wholeheartedly doesn't mean I can't kind of experiment and just see what it's like. So in that vein, I looked at this profile and I found out what my personality and soul card are. And for me, they're both the same. They're the number 8, which is associated with the strength card. So I took some pictures of the different strength cards in different decks of mine. And then she has a hidden factor teacher card. I put this in here. This is the collective wheel of the year. This is the collective year card, the Wheel of Fortune for 2026. And then my personal card, based on at least the Mary Kay Greer way of doing it, is the Hanged One. And then on the other side, I have lessons and opportunities, and that is the, according to numerology, right, it's the cards in the minor arcana, which are the 8s across the suits. They go with the strength cards. So I put my ones from the Rider-Waite-Smith, my Centennial Edition there. She also has some zodiacal correspondences. And so these are strength and opportunity cards from a zodiac perspective. This is my destiny card, which has to do with my sun sign. And then here are some more, there's a mode of expression card and an inner teacher card. And these have to do with your rising sign and your moon sign, and then your major arcana. And anyway, so this is what I did. And so I made this, I just put it on paper. And then I thought, well, I started to do as a tip-in, like I had done my reading. And I thought, well, I could just laminate it and make my own pencil board. So that's what I did. Anyway, now that's really all I have to share with you about my tarot practice. I hope maybe I've given you some ideas or things to think about. If you have some specific tarot practices or specifically tarot journaling, I'd love to hear about it. If you've used a Hobonichi, or another system, I will say that there are other books. I don't think I said this in this video yet. There's one, I think by Just Scribbles. There are several different versions where the different sections are interspersed, and some people like that better, where, say, you would have the monthly calendar followed by the weeks for that month, followed by the days for that month, and then you would go and it would be the next month, and then the weeks, and then the days. And so they're interspersed like that. Some people, that is their much preferred method. My brain, I don't like that. I really like to have the different types of sections separated. I don't mind flipping back and forth because I don't really flip back and forth that much. But the reason I like it that way is because I don't always use the sections as prescribed. I don't use them all chronologically in the month the way they're talking about. And I want to have the freedom to use the different sections and have all the different sections grouped together for instance, like my deck connectors club, I like to have all that. I'm happy to have all that together. So for me, again, with Hobonichi, that is a feature, not a bug. But if you're interested in this type of journal this size, just know that there are some other books that do similar but have some other structures that may work better for you. There are all kinds of planners that are sort of based on this but have some other features. Like there are some that have more extensive tracking. There are some that have vertical weekly layouts, which actually does appeal to me. As you saw, I turned my book vertically, which I actually like doing. Some people don't like to have to turn their book. I kind of think it's fun to give me a different perspective inside my own book. But anyway, there are some books that have meal tracking in them. I do not track my meals. I did breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks a day, every day for 8 people for decades. And I am now an empty nester and I don't do any of that. So I definitely don't want to track my meals. I do log my food. I do that digitally, but I do not need a book to put my meal planning in. But some people really do. Some people, that's a joy. So again, I'm never going to yuck on your yum. I'm showing you what works for me and why. And I hope that you're thinking about what works for you and what you love and how you're going to modify things if it doesn't work. All right, all that said, I think maybe I can get a few more minutes in here. Let me show you my new deck. This is the Rooted Woman Oracle, and I did actually unwrap it on camera, but then I messed up that footage, so I did just unwrap this today. And this is a 53 card deck and guidebook Oracle deck by Sharon Blackie. Dr. Sharon Blackie wrote the book Hagitude. She has some really great audios. I love what she does. She's an award-winning writer, psychologist, and mythologist. So, of course, you know me, mythology. I love that. Specializing in the mythic imagination. Oh, I just love that. Hannah Willow is the artist for these cards. She's inspired by wild and free places, creatures, folklore, poetry, myths, and legends. So, I haven't seen this deck on other people's channels, so I thought maybe it would be a fun thing to share. The guidebook, it's a nice little guidebook. I like that it's a clamshell box and all kind of fits together. I like it when the books are good, but I kind of like it when they're the same size as the cards. It looks like it has suits, right? So it has places and then allies and then a whole suit on journey. And then it has some focus cards, which I think is interesting. Let's see. Oh, it's got some spreads. Oh, look, all this is the preview material, so she's probably got some good information about that. And then the cards themselves, they're organized by suit. Oh, and she does have a listing. Oh, I think I just showed that, so you can find what page things are on. They are numbered. There's not a picture in here, but I think it's still pretty easy to find out. Sort of a write-up about it. It looks like a little bit about the title or the theme for the card, and then a little bit about what it means. So let's look at the cards themselves. So these are the backs. I think that's really pretty. This is a Hay House deck. I don't love the cardstock. It's a little cardboardy. It's kind of thin, so it's nice. It's a kind of a nice size. I don't know. It's probably maybe a little smaller than some Oracle cards. This is my hand. I have sort of a medium-sized hand. It's not quite that. Mine did come with a little bit of a bow. I also live in a really humid area of the country. I will probably overhand, not ruffle shuffle these. But anyway, so let's look at them. Move this over here. And I won't go through all of them again because it's 53 of them, and I've already been on here for almost an hour. But look at this, the well. It looks like they do have a title and then some keywords. I know for some people that's a really big deal because they don't like to have to look at the guidebook at all. I love guidebooks, so that's not usually a problem for me. Ooh, the 4 card in this suit is Bog, stagnation. I've been doing a lot with the Emperor, and that structure and authority can be kind of stagnating sometimes, right? So, forest. Oh, look at the bunny. I'm loving these colors. Mountain, maybe I can get a little closer here. Oh, I love the little kind of star shine in here. Oh, the more silence and simplicity. I don't quite know how I'm going to fit these cards into my practice. When I saw that one of my favorite writers had cards, I had to get them. Oh, look at this stone circle. Look at this little badger. I've never seen a badger in real life. When I was in England this spring, I was so hoping I would find one. I didn't see one. I've only ever seen them in storybooks, but I love this idea of this badger underneath this stone circle, the sacred landscape. I will say that one of the highlights of my life, I've wanted to go to Newgrange for 40 years, and I got to do that this summer. Went to Tara, went to Newgrange, went to Brúna. I mean, just these amazing spiritual sites. Newgrange was built 1,000 years before the pyramids. It was incredible. So, and when you go in, it looks an awful lot like that, although we didn't have a little creature with us. Oh, I don't know about the Fisher King's Court. I don't know that story. Otherworldly treasures. Isle of Women. So it looks like that's the end of one suit, and this is the beginning of the next suit. I think this was Allies. Oh, Old Crane Women. All right, I could do a full flip through if you're, Divine Madness, if anybody's interested, but I'll go ahead and end this video here with just that little sneak peek and just some cards to kind of get you thinking. Thank you so much for being here. I always forget to say this part, but if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or subscribe. I love meeting new tarot friends, and I would love to hear your comments. If you want to tell me how your quote unquote new year or your month or whatever your reset is, how you're journaling, what your time is going to be. If you have a new deck, or if you've ever seen a deck created by your favorite author and you didn't know that they were there, I like discovering that too. All right, so thank you again for being here with me. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Until then, have a great day, rest of the week, rest of the month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.